Welcome into the Win or Hughes podcast, a special episode because the A's are making national news, not for something they're doing on the field necessarily, because there hasn't been a lot of good on the field, but something cool that the fans are doing. And this is something that, is pretty unique for A's fans, is the community that they have as fans. And there's been this national narrative about the stadium issue with the Oakland A's and that the fans don't show up and that it's the fans' fault, which is wrong. And I think that is something that hasn't been addressed enough in the media, that with everything that's going on with the A's and their current stadium and their hopes to stay in Oakland and Howard Terminal in Las Vegas, that it isn't the fans' fault. And a group of fans has started a movement to say, stop blaming us. It's not our fault for what's going on. So we are happy to be joined by Stu Clary right now, who is part of this movement. You've been seeing it on social media. They've had a write-up in the New York Times this morning, I saw. The Athletic has done some stuff, and, it's getting a lot of national media attention. So, Stu, thanks for joining us, and just give us a little bit of an idea about where this started with the idea of the reverse boycott.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's something that I've been thinking about for quite some time, and last week I was following one of the many A's Twitter pages that I follow, and there was a poll about, are you going to games anymore? And I answered the poll, and then I went in the comments and I said, I answered the poll, but by the way, here's something I've been thinking about. And I laid out my idea of we should sell out a random weeknight game, a game that would typically be very lowly attended. And there was a terrific positive response. The next day, I mentioned it to a friend of mine who put together a small informal focus group, and we all agreed, well, this is something we should do. I mean, why not? And we picked a date, and now we're rolling with it, and it's really blown up beyond my wildest dreams. And I had no idea this was going to happen.
Well, just give us an idea. I get the sense that you've been a longtime A's fan, and we've both been A's fans our whole lives. We're a little younger, but we've watched this same process play out for a long, long time. We've seen a lot of renderings about new ballparks, a lot of promises, and a lot of that hasn't come to fruition. We've watched teams get built up and torn apart year after year. And there's always been some level of expectation that when they rebuild this next team, that's going to be the team that goes into the new ballpark. We've been seeing that for, almost 25 years at this point. So give us an idea. How long have you been a fan? How long has this process been going on to build to where we are right now, at least for you?
Well, like you alluded to, we've been lied to for years. Lied to. I've been a fan. I moved to Northern California in 1977. I'm 60 years old, so you guys can do the math. My first A's game was in 77. I immediately adopted them at the time as my American League team. I moved from Atlanta, so I kept the Braves for a while, but now I can't even name four guys on the Braves, which is really weird.
Well, except for Sean Murphy and Matt Olson, unfortunately.
Well, there's two for sure.
Yeah.
And so just over the years, I dropped the Braves. I've been a pretty avid A's fan. My first season ticket package year, it was a 20-game package, was in 1987. Pretty good time to, grab some season tickets. And I've been an off and on season ticket holder and large group leader, actually, for off and on ever since through the Access era. I'm going to less games now because it's a two-way street, and it's not paying off for us. We're not being supported. And really, if you look back at the history of the A's, Charlie Finley was a great owner until free agency came, and he was just priced out of the game. He sold to the Haas family, and I haven't done my homework on how long they owned the team, but they were great owners. Ever since then, we've been saddled with terrible ownership that constantly threatens to move the team. There's a constant churn of players. The thing that's really stark is when you go to the game, you look up at Mount Davis and you see the retired numbers. None of them are career A's. There's no such thing as a career A. Rickey Henderson was a Yankee and many other things. Dennis Eckersley was a was a Cub and an Indian. Reggie, of course, his numbers retired by the Yankees. I go on and on. We don't invest in players, and just here's the analogy that I'd like to use. Let's say John Fisher, the A's owner, owned a restaurant instead of a baseball team. And at one time, he served nothing but the best tasting Wagyu beef. But then he decided to get rid of all that and go to a different,
frozen cheeseburger stand or something
a different
like that.
supplier, and only uses canned rancid beef, but raises the price, doubles the menu prices. Would it be when that restaurant ultimately failed, would it be the customer's fault? No, it would be his fault. So why is this any different? Because he took his Wagyu beef, Matt Olson, Sean Murphy, et cetera, got rid of them, has brought in a lesser alternative.
Sure, yeah.
Let's not call the current players rancid beef, but
yeah.
and yet has doubled the ticket price, or substantially increased the ticket prices. On top of that, he doesn't market his restaurant, and he fired half of his back end staff. That he's gutted the scouting department, he's gutted the analytics department. For what? So that he can charge me double? I buy my tickets now from StubHub, so I'm not hitting him any extra money. And
Stu, I gotta ask you, what would you say your biggest grievance is? Is it the Coliseum? Is it just you don't like going to the restaurant? Is it the quality of the team that's up there, or is it the prices, or is it all of the above?
I love the Coliseum. I understand why we need a new park, and I will be the first to jump in there. And should this happen, I'll tell you right now, I'll be among the first to jump in and grab tickets. But I love the Coliseum. My kids were raised in the Coliseum. I love the Coliseum. It's it's everything that everyone knows it is, but it's home. I love the Coliseum. It's seen plenty of great times for me and my family at the Coliseum. I don't mind the Coliseum at all. What I don't like is the constant churn of players. I don't like the fact that why can't we have nice things? Obviously, we're not a small market because there's a large market team right across the bay. And everything that happened to the Giants that's positive since Pac Bell Park was built can happen with a Howard Terminal ballpark. I'm not going because he doesn't deserve my money. Quite simple.
No, it's a good point, because you're right. I think ultimately how many other businesses struggle and then blame the customer. It doesn't happen outside of sports. And a lot of that comes from people that are, protecting the interests of baseball or protecting the interests of maybe the ownership and things like that. But we've seen it within the last 25 years. We've seen when the A's are good and the fans are there and they're invested in the teams doing their own part, whether it's even small things like advertising on buses and BART and trying to get you to come out, that when the fans show up, the atmosphere in the Coliseum, it's electric. I mean, we've heard guys like Justin Verlander during those Tigers-A's playoff series talk about what an insane environment it is inside the Coliseum when the fans are there. But a lot of what's been done from A's ownership keep saying, like, stay away, don't come. And what I'm curious is, what's your ultimate goal with this reverse boycott? If the fans show up one more time, the message seems to be, hey, stop blaming us, because look, we're here. If this is a two-way street, if you want us to buy from you, you have to give us something to buy.
I think the ultimate goal is to just show the other 29 owners that the Oakland fans will come and support, that we do deserve a team. It just struck me that not showing up, like you said in the open, feeds the narrative that we can't support a team. Anyone that was at, game 162 in 2012 knows we can support a team. Anybody that's been to the Coliseum when times are good knows that we can support the team. But it gets so tiring and old when your contention window is 3 years and then guys are traded off in their prime. I saw a graphic the other day about, the former A's in Major League Baseball. We would have a top 2 or 3 team in Major League Baseball right now if we hadn't jettisoned all these guys. So my ultimate goal is just awareness. It's not our fault. What's happened in Oakland falls squarely on the shoulders of John Fisher and his henchmen. I'm not so naive to think that this is going to force a sale or force him to convince him to stay. Probably none of that's going to happen, but we do want to get the word out. We just want to change the national narrative. And, the only thing I can guarantee that's going to happen is it's going to be one hell of a great time. It's going to be an epic night. It's going to be so much fun. The tailgating is going to be off the chain. It's going to be a big time party atmosphere. I can't wait. It's going to be a blast.
I'm just so appreciative that you guys have taken this on and taken on this idea. As we know, as local A's fans, the tailgating, and it's one of the last places you can tailgate. For opening day, we had people, on national coverage saying, "Oh, it's so sad. They have such a low turnout." They weren't there for the game. They weren't waiting 3 innings to get a hot dog like I was waiting, right? We know that this is one of the last great places to do that tailgating. And just before I jumped on this Zoom with everyone, I saw a clip on ESPN, and that was exactly what they're saying is save the owners, get Oakland out of there. They should go play in the subway in New York because there's less pests. They were talking about the possum that was in the Mets broadcasting booth there. And it's just such low-hanging fruit for the national media to just take a quick look, and they're not there. They don't see how packed that parking lot is. So I'm just really appreciative, especially because the A's are going with this phrase, rooted in Oakland, when clearly they're like not, and they're tossing things around. And so to start this grassroots movement that is rooted in Oakland, as a fan, it's just something I'm really appreciative to see.
Thank you. Again, the response has just been mind-blowing, and I just think we're gonna have a blast. That's our absolute floor. We're gonna go out and have a heck of a party.
Well, let's just ask, the reverse boycott, was this something that you said you'd been thinking about it for a while. Had you seen this idea before? I mean, like, where did this ruminate and come to you? Just like one idea, click, this makes sense to me.
I've been thinking, that I haven't been going to as many games, and neither is anybody else, obviously.
Yeah.
But it just occurs to me that just plays into the narrative that Eric just mentioned. It's, of course, Oakland, right. We need to move the A's. No one shows up. Well, what's the root cause of that?
Yeah.
We had crappy ownership for 45 of the 55 years they've been in Oakland? It cares as much as we do.
Yeah, it's the plot of Major League playing out right in front of our eyes, right?
It's like they just saw the movie for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I appreciate you coming and talking with us, man. And just to get the word out there again, we'll share the graphic, but it's June 13th, the reverse boycott, trying to get A's fans to show up, to buy your tickets early, show up, have that presence like it's an October game against Justin Verlander and the Tigers, and bring that playoff atmosphere. We want to hear the drums beating. We want to hear the trumpets. Want to see flags waving. Just all the things. You bring your rally candles. The giveaways. Bring your Cocoa Crisps,
rally possum,
all that stuff.
Don't forget about the vuvuzelas.
Right. Yeah. So Stu, good luck, and man, we'll be getting the word out about it, because I think it's a really cool idea for A's fans to finally have an avenue that they don't just have to be passive in this narrative, that they can take a little control within what they can do and say, look, if you build it, we will show up.
Not just A's fans either. Our friends across the Bay, please come out. Anybody that's a baseball fan, please come out. What a luxury we have in the Bay Area to have 2 major league teams. Let's keep it that way.
I love it. All right, Stu, appreciate you joining us. We'll have more on this. We'll share that and get it out on social media. Listen to Win or Hughes. You can also find us on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Thanks, guys.